Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. Researchers are worried again. CNN is reporting today, dragonflies and climate change. Warmer temperatures cause males to lose wing patterns. As the planet warms, a study found that male dragonflies are losing a crucial feature they typically use to attract female mates, the ornate black patterns on their wings. And the caption to their picture says, researchers worry that female dragonflies may no longer recognize their male counterparts. Our research shows that males and females of these dragonfly species are going to shift in pretty different ways as the climate changes. Michael Moore, lead author of the study and an evolutionary biologist at Washington University in St. Louis, told CNN. These changes are going to happen likely on a much faster time scale than the evolutionary changes in these species have ever occurred before. Moore and his colleagues analyzed a database of more than 300 dragonfly species across the US, Canada, and northern Mexico, and cross-referenced the wing colors of roughly 2,700 individual dragonflies from different species across different locations and climate. Like most climate stories, this one has been picked up widely by the mainstream media. Dragonflies are one of my favorite photographic targets, and I've been photographing them for years. I don't see any indication that their wings are changing. So the first problem with this article is that its fundamental premise is probably flawed. The second problem is that they're not doing original research. Here's another study which did the same thing from 5 years ago. It showed that dragonflies in the Arctic had darker wings than dragonflies in hot climates. This article was published in the magazine Ecography during September of 2016. We know that dragonflies live in very hot climates and they also live in very cold climates. So the idea that a small amount of warming will make them extinct is patently absurd. Dragonflies have been on Earth for about 300 million years. They were here before the dinosaurs. For most of the time dragonflies have been on Earth, temperatures were 10 to 15 degrees Celsius warmer than they are now. During the Permian, Earth's temperature increased about 15 degrees Celsius, yet the dragonflies thrived. Historical evidence provides no reason to believe that warming or hot temperatures will be a threat to dragonflies. Most of the recent study was done in the United States, where afternoon temperatures have actually cooled over the past century. And the frequency of hot days in the United States is down sharply over the past 100 years. The authors are located in Missouri, which is one of the fastest cooling regions of the United States. Temperatures in Missouri are down about 2 degrees Fahrenheit over the past century. And the frequency of 90-degree days in Missouri has dropped by more than 50%. So if the authors think they're seeing changes in butterflies caused by climate, it's actually due to cooling rather than warming. This is one of the fundamental problems of government agencies like NASA and NOAA tampering with temperature data. Researchers attribute phenomena they see to warming when in fact the thermometers are showing cooling. Most of the claimed global warming by NASA has occurred in the Arctic, and it has occurred during winter. If winter temperatures in the Arctic are minus 25 Celsius instead of minus 30 Celsius, it's hard to understand how this would affect insects in the mid-latitudes. We spent the last few minutes discussing CNN's junk science. Now let's look at some actual science. 250 million years ago, Earth had giant dragonflies. They weighed as much as crows. And the reason we had these giant dragonflies is because there was a large amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. Insects lack lungs and breathe through a series of tubes that are connected to the outside. There was a lot more oxygen during the Carboniferous era because there were a lot more plants. And the reason there were a lot more plants were because of warm temperatures and high amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That's why it was called the Carboniferous era. Everyone who went to a natural history museum as a child should be aware of these fundamental scientific facts. This is a diorama from the Carnegie Museum of Natural History in Pittsburgh. Even on our warmest and muggiest days, it's hard to imagine Pennsylvania ever looked like this coal forest diorama. Giant cockroaches, dragonflies, and centipedes shared the area we now call home. Insects do extremely well in warm, humid climates. I remember many thrilling encounters with giant cockroaches when I lived in Houston. Everything seems to be wrong with this story. Its fundamental premise probably isn't true. Dragonflies live in a very wide range of climates now. Over the past 300 million years, dragonflies thrived in temperatures much hotter than Earth's current climate. And the research was performed in an area that's actually cooling rather than warming. The researchers are trying to blame an imaginary phenomenon on imaginary warming. Nothing in this story has anything to do with science or reality. But the mainstream media has picked up and run with this story without doing any checking on their own and without seeking out any second opinions. All of this fake news and junk science from the press has been keeping Toto very busy for the past 13 years. You can visit Toto, Kyrie, and Caesar on the web at realclimatescience.com.